I just thought I'd share some insights about a book I'm reading at the moment by a guy called Johann Hari. Um, the book is called Stolen Focus. Someone close to me recommended it, and I had a chance encounter with it in a bookshop, and I bought it. And the book is called Stolen Focus. I'll put a link in the link below for the YouTube channel, but I'll put the name up there on the screen as well for you. It should be up there now. And Stolen Focus basically is a fairly substantial work, I think 500 or 600 pages. And it goes into this whole problem of how we are losing our focus in our everyday tasks, particularly tasks that require concerted mental effort, like, for example, studying, writing papers, reading source material, etc., etc. And it's all to do with these things. How we are being robbed in many senses of our ability to focus and to pursue concentrated effort to solve problems, etc. And it's quite relevant to what uni hacker is primarily concerned about, which is, of course, learning, education. And Johann Hari goes into some detail. There's a very poignant early phase in the book when he writes about how he tried to disconnect himself from this, from these things, and from the world of constant barrage of information and communication. And he found it incredibly difficult. And it turns out he interviewed someone that I had great admiration for, a Hungarian scholar of education. His name was Csikszentmihalyi. He wrote a book back several years ago, several decades ago, called Flow. And what his whole life, Csikszentmihalyi's whole life was um, devoted to, was trying to understand how human beings can apply enormous mental energy to solving problems or creating things. And this, of course, is very relevant for education, for pursuing a degree, getting your undergraduate degree, going on and doing a master's degree, and also in professional life afterwards. And numerous studies now have shown how important that insight of flow is, that when people are constantly interrupted, um, it actually undermines our creative and mental powers. And we now, in the modern generation, in this period of human history, we are constantly interrupted by these things, and it's taking a huge toll. Even those of us like me, people slightly older than me, we refer to ourselves as Generation X, or we're referred to as Generation X. A lot of talk about how we've all become, you know, subsumed by this. And of course, younger generations, uh, they've never grown up. They haven't grown up without these things. Um, and that's causing a lot of problems. The rise of attention deficit disorder and various other kinds of issues. Uh, and it got me thinking too about how it's important that sometimes, believe it or not, and maybe it's easier for me because of my position in the generational map as a Gen Xer, um, how important it is sometimes to go analog. And I do talk about this a few times in my various tutorials and courses that I run at UniHacker about sometimes just turning the phone off, putting it away, stepping away from the computer, taking out a pen and a piece of paper, and doing it that way. It's slower, but you know what? I find it better. And it may be a bias on my part, but I do recommend it to all students when they're trying to do some deep thinking. Because here's what I notice about a lot of students when they do work, when they submit papers, assignments, and things like that. Not so much exams, because that's a very particular and artificial setting, but certainly um, in term papers and research projects, it's like they don't know what to say. They're not able to find their own voice, um, and what's missing, I think, is the fact that they have not thought deeply about the subject that they're actually researching. They know lots of stuff. They've gone and researched it. The diligent students, they've gone and researched it. They know lots of stuff, but they are not thinking deeply about it. And that's what's missing in a lot of papers. I read through so many papers and good students, and they've worked hard, they've read a lot, and sometimes what's missing is they are not reflecting back, they're not advancing. They've simply become a repository, a container of facts, rather than advancing a thought of their own, reflecting on those facts. And that's often what's missing. And it does, I think, in part come down to the fact that Csikszentmihalyi and to some extent Johann Hari have highlighted one of the major problems, and that is these guys. And sometimes when you're thinking, your best ally is some ink and some pulped wood. I kid you not. There's a lot to be said for it. Take it seriously. Um, that's what we're trying to do in UniHacker. We're trying to get our students, our customers, if you like, to think a little bit more about thinking and moving things in depth.